During the testing phase of our VDI project, everything went really well. And so we made the decision to go to production with it. We felt confident in our architecture, the equipment supporting that architecture. Test results had been fantastic, and so we began to move to production. Once we hit about 90 users, we started getting calls about slow performance on our virtual desktop infrastructure environment. And that really puzzled us because we had designed our environment to handle 500 users. And so we began looking at why are we having these problems with performance all of a sudden? And so it quickly became apparent that we were having an I/O bottleneck, an input-output bottleneck with our storage processors. So we began to ask around, talking to our storage vendors and other people that we work with, how can we resolve this problem with the storage processor utilization? Well, the answer I got across the board was, you need to purchase more storage. Well, that was going to be a killer for us because we would be looking at over $100,000 for new storage. And part of the ROI, if you will, for our project is that we would be using existing equipment in our environment. So we were really faced with the possibility of killing the project if it meant spending $100,000 plus on new storage. We've been using Atlantis Ilio with VMware View for about 2.5 years now, and it truly is transparent, both from an end user perspective and from an administrator perspective. It really is a set it and forget it type of product. We have not had any stability issues whatsoever. It has functioned flawlessly throughout our entire experience with it. Without the Atlantis Ilio product, we would have had to have gone with a hardware solution. That hardware solution would have entailed purchasing 188 SanDisks in order to get the IOPS that we would have needed to support the 500 user environment. Obviously, a very expensive proposition. One of the nice benefits of the Atlantis Ilio product is it allowed us to do this with only 18 SanDisks, which we already had. So it reduced our total SAN footprint by 90% over what we would have needed to support it with a strictly hardware solution. The other benefit is it reduced the SAN real estate in the amount of disk space that we required. We would have required 5 terabytes to support 500 users in a traditional environment. We are supporting 500 users with 800 gigabytes. When we implemented the Atlantis Ilio product, our performance issues evaporated. Our end users immediately saw performance equal to, and in most cases better than what they had with their previous PCs. Our experience with Atlantis Ilio has been outstanding, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody doing virtual desktop infrastructure because it's a very efficient and seamless way of addressing storage I/O issues.
So my name is Gideon Wilkins. I'm the Director of Alliances and Strategic Partner Management here at Colt Technology Services. Colt is transforming from being a telecommunications company into a next generation service provider. And our goal is to be the information delivery platform for all and trusted by all to manage, store, process and transport their mission critical data. So the drivers behind Colt looking to deploy a VDI solution was basically started off by a challenge from our CEO, who wanted us to be able to execute and show customers what the new types of technology would enable us to do. We also wanted to improve our internal customer satisfaction and reduce costs. And there was a big drive towards bring your own device methodology. So as a long-term strategic partner with VMware, it was a natural choice for Colt to choose VM View as our desktop strategy. So in response to the challenge, we started to look at how to deploy a VMware View VDI solution. And the challenge that we saw was the same as every other enterprise, and that was the balance between the performance and the cost. And it was a very difficult nut to crack. And the only way that we found to crack it was when we were introduced to the Atlantis Ilio technology. That enabled us to redesign the solution. We were able to run blades for the same cost of having 10 concurrent users, but with 170 concurrent users. And we were able to take 6 figures out of the investment that was required to deliver the service within Colt. So we'd managed to succeed in the challenge, which was great. The interesting thing happened after that, where actually our partners and our customers came to us and said, you guys have really cracked this VDI conundrum. You've come up with a service that has the exact performance criteria that enterprise are looking for at the price point that makes sense for VDI to be a serious service offering. Agilysys was one of the first system integrator partners that really caught on to this new phenomenon and had worked with Colt around working specifically into some of the local government public sector environments. And companies or departments such as Hammersmith and Fulham were early adopters of this. We chose Atlantis Ilio diskless VDI over and above any other solution, mainly because we needed the flexibility and the elasticity and scalability that we could get through our compute and software layers without having to worry about additional hardware. So the solution that we came up not only for Colt but with Agilysys achieved all the goals that the challenge had really set us. It met the performance goals, the customer satisfaction was incredible. We managed to get density from 10 to 170 users per blade on the V-block. We managed to take down login times from minutes to seconds. File transfer and also opening up extremely large folders became almost instantaneous. And the real benefit was for our mobile workforce, which was able to access the critical data that they need anytime, anywhere. All they need is an internet connection. So would I recommend Atlantis computing to other companies? I'd like to say no, because to be honest, it gives us such a competitive advantage where our clients are so impressed with the speed and the commercials around the service we offer that their users are demanding it over and above thick client and laptops. But in all honesty, yeah, it is a fantastic piece of technology.
Fellows is a privately owned office products company. Globally, we turn over approximately $700 million. In Europe, we have offices in all the main European countries. We turn over about $100 million. When it came to setting the strategy for the desktops, virtualization was a very attractive proposition for us. When we looked at the time taken every day by every employee in turning on an old computer and waiting to become really productive, the cost savings to going virtualization were huge. Over 3 years, we projected a £500,000 saving. We're running virtualized IBM servers, and we have Atlantis Ilio as a caching device. The Atlantis Ilio software really allows us to push more IOPS at a back-end SAN system that it would natively be able to cope with. So we are able to run, for instance, 200 desktops on a SAN, which, if without the Ilio, would only be able to run about 50. One of the very pleasant surprises about doing a VDI implementation at Fellows was the user take-up. They really appreciate the fact that they can come in and start working. The machines are generally quicker to use, they are much quicker to log on to in the morning. And couple that with the mobility of it, so if users want to use their iPad at home, they can connect direct to their desktop. We don't have any issues around configuring iPads or any concerns about it, because they get to their true desktop that they're using at work. Because of the functionality of the Atlantis software, even when we take into account the extra licensing costs, we calculated that by implementing it we saved about 50% on our capital for the SAN. For anyone looking at going down the virtualization route for their desktops, I would definitely recommend having a look at the Atlantis solution.